Hello, folks. How are we all doing this wonderful day? Let's see if we can. There we go. That's better audio. Wonderful. Alright, let's bring that music right on down. Hello, folks. How we going? Welcome. We are going to be going through a topic that is very near and dear to my heart today. Creating effective GitHub Readmes, which I would say honestly is one of the most effective things that you can do to boost the likelihood of an open source project getting more frequent or bigger contributions. Effective GitHub Readmes cannot be underestimated, I think. There is so much riding on somebody the first time that they come to your project, figuring out how to use it, what it's about, what's relevant, all of that jazz. So we are going to be cracking on with that very, very shortly. Just wait for a couple folks to drop in. All right, so hello, folks. For those of you unfamiliar, I'm John. I'm one of the coaches here at Major League Hacking. I've been hacking, organizing, kicking around the community since around 2014. When I'm not doing tech-related stuff, I do a lot of work in the arts. And outside of that, I get occasionally paid to set things on fire for money, which is always a lot of fun. So let's throw a few ground rules together. What is GitHub? Well, GitHub is a platform that basically everybody in the hacking community will at some point end up using, I'd wager. GitHub is pretty much one of the big industry titans when it comes to code hosting, version control, and collaboration. It's a Git platform, which is the tool that underlies all of GitHub, Bitbucket, all the wonderful VCSs that we know and love. With the exception of the VCSs that are not Git, which for the subversion folks out there, big shout out. But yeah, GitHub, big platform, really well known, and it does a lot of different stuff. One of the things that it does is that when you go to a GitHub page for a specific project, it will render you a README. And a README is a text file that provides an overview and explanation of a project. Generally, it covers a few different areas. It'll cover the top line of what the project actually is, and then in terms of structure, it does tend to vary, but usually you'll have some kind of installation instructions, or like how do you set up or use the thing at the top, like a quick start. And then potentially some contribution guidelines, a chunk of stuff below that around like, okay, here's some potential issues you might have, here's how to solve them, a kind of FAQ section. And maybe even a list of like the project's favorite contributors or something like that. So why would you need to make one of these? Well, as a general rule, they are the first thing that anybody is going to see when they go to your project. Like I mentioned earlier, they are pretty much the biggest tool that you have got for marketing your open source project. And in a lot of cases, if you don't have certain elements in a README, it's a really quick way to turn folks off from like engaging with or interacting with your project. Like if I and I hate to say this, but with a lot of people, it's like they're not going to take the muted. Okay. All right, let's go back to the top of that then. So as a general rule with READMEs, it is the core thing that you end up that is like the first thing that people will ever see. So in terms of marketing your project, there's a big focus on like that being like the first point of entry. So you want to know that like everything is where you want it to be, that you've got a quick access to the information that you're going to end up using frequently. In a lot of cases, folks just won't have the well, a lot of people will not go to the effort. Like if you don't provide like quick start stuff for a library, they're not going to go and read the library code to figure out how to implement it necessarily, because like reverse engineering that stuff can take a lot of effort. So they'll just go and find a library that's better documented. And then also like use cases and contribution. If you have those specified up front, it can be really helpful for folks that want to contribute to your open source project. So where can you find it? Well, you can, as a general rule, you find this basically smack bang in the top level of your Git repo. These are going to be generally there's two types with GitHub, but we'll talk about that briefly. As a general rule, it's a file called either readme in all caps or readme.md, which is sometimes used because it's markdown. And as a general rule, those are at the root directory of your repository. So as an example here, let's pull out a good example. So if we show you this, here we go. So this is AppWrite's README. So here, this is a great example of a number of different things. So we've got a really nice like visual element here to kind of tie you in. We have a lovely explanation of exactly what it is and like what's going on here. And then we've got a few of these little badges. People like to put these badges in READMEs for a few different reasons. It sort of started off with the test badges, because that will then show you whether the project, like the current version of the project, is currently passing tests. But also you can see there's a badge here that shows like the little Discord number that they've got, or the fact that they are participating in Hacktoberfest, which is coming up in literally like 2 days, and you should all be getting in on it because it's a freaking great event. And then we have a little description of what the actual project is. Then a visual of what it is, and then right down into here we've got a little table of contents, which I love because it means that we can jump straight to where we want to be going. And immediately we've got installation instructions. So right off the bat, we can go, okay, right, bam. We know exactly what we're going to be doing with this. This is how we get it on our system. We've got it in multiple different operating systems. So we're not too worried about like, oh, this isn't going to work, this isn't going to work. One-click setups here, which is kind of nice. This tends to be more of a thing for cloud apps. You can set it up so that like for DigitalOcean, for example, there's a thing you can set it where you can either put it on their marketplace, or with Gitpod you can like link the GitHub repo and it'll auto install, which is cool. I've not seen Akamai compute in a while. And then it'll getting started here, and it talks about like, okay, here's a link to this getting started article, which is great. It talks about all kinds of architectural stuff. So that is all great. And then right down here, we've got like contributions. So all code contributions have to go through a pull request to be approved by a core developer before being purged, which is great. They also link their contribution guide, which is in contributing.md. We're starting to see a bit of a pattern here. So they're like, so over here, they're like now defining, okay, cool, here is the exact steps you need to go through in order to get something in the stack, which is great. For security issues, they ask if they email them instead of putting it as a public issue, which makes sense. And it's licensed under the BSD 3-clause license, which is cool. They also have a security.md file, which I love, which is starting to become more of a standard, where it's similar to like a README, where people put a security MD file in to like define, okay, what are like the supported versions in this case, but also like vulnerability reporting. Being able to find that in one place is always really helpful, which is cool. So that's the example of a good one. So we're starting to get a bit of a feel for like what the structure of these is. There's also another specific type of README that you can find, and these are called profile READMEs. Let me pull one up here. If I was going to pull my own up, because why not? Um, Yep, so this is my README. It's a little bit out of date, but it is what it is. You can see here what you do is you basically create um, you would create a repository that has the same name as your GitHub account. So in this case, it's Jeff Kingsley. And this is a special repository, like it says. It's readme.md will appear on your public profile. So what it does is it basically takes this file here, which we love, and then it just pops it straight on your GitHub profile. So whenever anybody comes to see your stuff, then you get that little bit right at the top, which is cute. And there's lots of ways that people make them very, very fancy. I'm personally pretty chill. Okay, so next up, time for us to learn some tricks. We're gonna go through some sort of like, we'll do some like functional stuff in terms of like showing this off. So like here's a few fundamentals I'd say they're like critical, and then we'll sort of start to break into some of the specifics. So as a starting point, choose a self-explaining name. Like I think this is like, if we jump back to AppWrite for a second, what is AppWrite? You use it to, well, write apps. It's an end-to-end backend server. This is like fairly self-explanatory. And they also explain it as well. They're like, this is a backend platform, which is always really helpful. Number two, description. All right, this is where it starts to get fun. So we want to be concise, which I think this is. They've got a nice one-liner up here. There's a slightly longer description here, but we're not really going over one or two paragraphs. So it's really easy for us to scan. Mention the type of license. They do that right at the bottom. So you know exactly what you're getting yourself into in terms of license requirements, which is always really important. Use links wherever possible. So there's a lot of stuff there where they've got separate documents, or they're linking out so that they're not having to put everything in the README, because if you go down the other side of this, it's like you end up with a situation where, like, if you've got all of the stuff just in the README, then you end up with a situation where your README is just like a million pages long, and you're just stuck in the middle of it all, as opposed to like separating it out into like concise resources. Comparative study with similar projects. So let's jump back to app right here. I think they have a sort of comparison section, or possibly not. I don't think so. Yeah. Some projects will have a little comparison of like, hey, here's what we're doing differently from the other guys. This can be really helpful, especially if you're like planning to build like a web framework or something that's like already relatively well understood. Explaining to folks why your thing is better and therefore worth using is usually pretty important, I'd say. In terms of like critical mass, at least, which is always good. Okay, number three, table of contents. Helps folks navigate. It does. It makes me very, very happy. Link to the subsections. That is, honestly, I think that line alone is the most critical part of all of this, because if you just have a table of contents, then that's all fine and well and good. But the fact that I can go, okay, cool, I need security info, bang, that is like, yeah, that just makes me happy inside. Four, installation and basic usage. Include screenshots, add code snippets, especially with libraries. This is a really, really big thing. I'd say equally as much with these kinds of projects in terms of like install instructions, but especially with, if you got a library, give me an example of how to use it. Like, don't just tell me how to import it. Give me some examples of what like the right kinds of function calls are, or like some hard coded stuff, so that I can start to figure out like what the actual structural stuff looks like. Number five, credits. List your collaborators. They will be listed on your commits on GitHub by default, but if you've got cool folks, then let people know about them. References, code and tutorials. Thank other projects you might be using in this one. Open source is a really like like lots of stuff ends up overlapping. This is a really common thing. So it's like it's fine. Just make sure that you're constantly like you know what it is that you're planning to do. Like you're like, okay, cool. Like I've used this project. So in some cases the license will require it, but I think that especially like if you're planning on if you're like not planning on if you're using a specific piece of kit in your own project, it feels kind of like feels a little bit slimy um to not credit it appropriately. I think I would almost always bias towards doing that where at all possible. At least as a general rule. Number six, contribution guidelines. We talked about this a little bit earlier, uh, which is great. So that kind of like coverage of, hey, okay, here's the stuff that you need to get involved with the project. So if we head on over to here, for example, it's like, great, how to start. If you're worried, you can talk to us. Here's our code of conduct. Make sure that you're following that. Submit a pull request. So there's that sort of like baseline of like, okay, here's how you do it. Here's the standard that we want in terms of our branch names. Here is the the process that you need to go through in order to set this stuff up. And then also like, okay, here's how you actually set the project up. Here's how you set up code autocomplete. That's great. I love the fact that they're being specific enough about that. Here's a little architecture diagram. Here's the file structure, the ports, technology stack. Here's the stuff we're using. Here's the package managers that we're using. Here's the things that we want to think about. So, if you're contributing code, keep an eye on all of this stuff because we don't want to be like submitting pull requests that make things really, really slow. Avoid introducing new dependencies. If you have to, then you can, but like be really, really careful about that. Checklist for releasing SDKs. PHP Storm, benchmarking, here's some code maintenance stuff like auto formatting. Yeah, great. That is really, really good. So I think that's sort of like the top line in terms of like contribution guidelines. Support links, we talked about this a little earlier. Like if you've got a support platform, link out to it, always a good time. Roadmap, this is usually more of a thing for like it generally tends to be more of a thing with commercial open source than like FOSS, but linking a roadmap in a lot of cases can really allow folks to understand what it is that you are working on with the project overall so that they don't end up like rebuilding features that you're already going to be working on in the future, which can be really, really good. Roadmap wise, just like, yeah, just link it. There's not really too much complicated there. Badges, we talked on those a little bit earlier. Those are really great ways to just communicate a lot of information very, very quickly. Customized Discord badges, always a great way to get folks involved in your communities. Yeah, just throw them out there, use them. All right then. So what I'm gonna suggest here is if folks would like to link some readmes in chat, we will go through and take a look at some and get a feel for what is good, what we can improve, figure out all the pieces of the puzzle. If that sounds good to everybody. We'll just wait to see once everybody drops through. Just drop the links for whatever readmes that you would like to take a look at in chat. Always struggle with the MDs. Those are fun. I don't, what part of Markdown specifically? Because I think we can probably take a look at some like. I mean, there's always if anybody has been to a physical MLH event, we do have Markdown cheat sheets sometimes, which are really helpful. There is also this website which I tend to use a lot myself, which is, let's get it up on screen. Here we go. This is called markdownguide.org, and these folks have a absolutely wonderful cheat sheet for all of the syntax. What's the best way to write them? There are lots of tools. Well, I mean, honestly, with Markdown, you don't need like a dedicated text editor. I tend to write most of my I honestly tend to write almost all of my readmes, at least. And I say this with the exception of my notes, because those are my notes as do generally tend to be. I write those in Markdown as well because I use a tool called Obsidian. But as a general rule, I tend to write those very differently from how I would broadly write readmes. For the most part, I write readmes. How would I put it? Yeah, I write readmes as like inline in Git, because you get to then use all of the inline preview functionality, which I think is like honestly one of the best parts of it. So if we pull up github.com, let's take a look at the repos. Those are all mine. Those are not. There we go. Oh, great. We've got some links. Okay, let's grab ourselves a Git page. There we go. And now I've just got to figure out how to. Okay, so we're going to do. Okay, so we've got a couple of these. Amplification. Let's start with this one. So. Is this it? GitHub.com/amplification. Oh, amplification. I see. Here we go. Okay, okay. Immediately we've got some cool stuff here. So we've got this is a set of folks who are using a profile readme to like show like who they are as an organization, which is really nice. They're like, hey, this is what we do. Here's our GitHub, LinkedIn, Twitter, like linked in badges, which is great. One-line description, which is great. Haven't used it yet. They give you a bunch of links out to go and find ways to use it, which is equally as good. Here's some contact information. Here is how to get involved, and here is a set of links to then link out to other stuff, which is great. So if we go and take a look at the actual main project here. Oh yeah, this is the good stuff. So we've got like a little bit of pretty stuff at the top here. A single line, a lovely screenshot of what the thing actually is. This is my favorite kind of README layout, I'd say, where it's like just bang, all laid out. Here's a screenshot. What is the thing? Off we go. So they've got like a little explanation here. They go into individual features. Usage. Okay. I have a slight annoyance here. If in the usage section, I would want like a 1 or 2 liner to like just get the thing rolling. Is this capable of being run locally? It looks like this might be a... Yeah, to get started, the hosted version of the project can be used. Okay, but also, like, I want to know how to set this up myself. So that's like a thing there to think about. Development, there we go. So, like, we could, if you don't use the hosted version, you can run it locally, which is great. Here's the prerequisites. You can run it on code spaces. That's cool. Application is a monorepo architecture powered by edX, which is great. I like edX. I've not done edX stuff in a while, actually. This is, I do like it, but yeah, tempting. Okay, anyway, that is entirely by the by. So yeah, here's a sort of general set of stuff to get it up and running, which is great. Some linked out resources, contribution guidelines. We have contribution guidelines here, linked out. A list of contributors. Yes, exactly. We are on the money. Recognize your contributors. Love that. And then like license. Hey, bunch of this is licensed under Apache, and then the stuff that's in the enterprise bit is licensed under the enterprise license, which makes sense. Cool. That is, I'd say that's a pretty strong example of a good README. We'll crack through the other two here and then get on. So let's see what we've got here. We can grab Vedant's. So if we take a look at this, oh, here we go. So we have we've got some stuff in here. We've also got a hollow pin, which is my friend Eleanor's company, which is always cool to see. Okay, let's take a look here. So we've got a little hider, we like just simple listing, and then we've got a little link out. We've got a little link out here to the actual holopin badges, which is cool. And then we've also got down here, we've got a little comment, so we can see that the comment here is not being rendered, which is correct. And then we can also see that if we go over to the profile proper, that it then renders it on the profile. So I think there's, in terms of like profile readmes, maybe we could like add some badges. There's probably a little bit to like clean up in terms of specifics, but yeah, overall really nice. Love that. All right, what's up next? Habitizer. Let's take a look at this. Code. Here we go. All right. This is the good stuff. Okay. So let's take a look-see. So if we, there we go, got that tab back. Okay, so similar kind of layout as earlier, which again, I like. Nice title. Feel like it needs a tagline, or a description or something. This is a little bit too like bam, straight in. This is also linked to itself. Yeah, that's not necessary. That can definitely be shuffled. Got a nice screenshot, which is great. Little introduction, so it's like, okay, cool, what's going on? Okay, this is a great pitch, but the thing with an introduction usually is that it needs to explain exactly what the thing is supposed to be, rather than like hooking you. So I think really what you probably want here is more of a description of like, okay, this project is this and this. It helps you build habits more efficiently, blah blah blah, and then just like have that breakdown from there. I really like that you've got a video demo in GIF form. This is really nice. Maybe honestly, I'm kind of mixed on whether I like. I definitely like GIFs in certain contexts. I also feel sometimes like just a step-by-step list of screenshots can actually be quicker to scan. Then we've got like our list of features. Yep, all of this is all great. Getting started with development. So we've got like, okay, here's the step-by-steps of what we're going to use. We've got the technology stack involved, which is great. We've got some credits for the folks who get involved. We don't have a contributors section here, so might be fun if you want other folks to jump in and help with this, adding one of those. License specified. Yeah, great. Really good example. Okay, let's get one last one on the run. If I can, let's pull up GitHub again, see if this will be happy. There we go, that's happy. All right, let's go and take a look at what was our last one of the day. Here we go. Okay, off we go. Back to profile readmes, which is always great. Okay, wonderful. So good introduction. Random. Oh, that's funky. We've got a random like top line dash that's jumping out of nowhere. Yeah, where is that coming from? Like we just got an individual inline. Also, this is also funky because this looks like is this being written as is this written as a what? No, it is. It's written as an HTML as HTML because that is a thing that you can render in Markdown. So this is like instead of like doing this as Markdown format, we're doing it as table tags, which is always fun. So we've got a hello. We've got a little like split section here, which I really like. It's like over here we've got a few links, some covered stuff, and then we've also got like some sort of what's their interests, what they're trying to do, how to get a hold of them. Something that is occasionally worth doing is that, especially when you're containing emails in these kinds of things, what I will sometimes do is instead of, I'll show you here, instead of doing like that, I will format it as like test. Because if you format it like that, it means that bots are less likely to just scrape your email and then start spamming you because they don't parse it as an email, or they're less likely to parse it as an email. Down here, we've got a chunk of various projects that is being shown off, which is really nice. We've got some lovely screenshots. We've got links out to the projects, a little description for each one. Down here, we've then got a few more ones all the way down the run. Some stuff on art. I think the main thing I'd say with these is maybe even just make the header tags bigger, like that you can afford to separate this all more clearly. You've got enough space for it. But overall, this is really nice. It's like a little showcase of everything that you're working on, which is wonderful. Okay. Oh, icon. Okay, that's fun. I have apparently picked the wrong corner of this. What we were actually after was the icon generator prototype. So if we hold for 1 second, we will touch on that. Let's take a look. See GitHub. Bring that back. Put that back on screen. Okay. Let's. Yep. Okay. What are we after? We're after. Okay, repositories. Icon generator prototype. Here we go. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay, this is okay. This is gonna be a funky one. Um, so we've sort of had like we've had the examples of like how to get everything structured in. And there's a like the immediate thing for me on this is oh my lord, put some headers in. It is one of the biggest things in terms of scanning readmes a lot of times is just like separating like where your eyes are going. So I think my immediate thing here is going to be like add some headers, section this, like get it separated out. Um, these are like testing steps, clone repository. How? Please provide a detail. Um, even if it's just like a single line of like git clone and then the repository name. That is in a lot of cases that just takes a little element of thinking out of it, which is really easy. Kind of similar with this. Um, like in terms of like the structure of it, I'd have like slightly cleaner like just having individual code snippets that you can use to get the project up and running. Probably you're going to want to add like there's no is there a, oh, there is a license on it which is GPL v3, but there is not it's not specified in the README, so you're probably going to want to add that. You're going to want to add a contributors section, and you're probably also going to want to add an introduction for what the thing actually is. Because even if it's a prototype, we always want to know. All right, wonderful. I think that brings us right down to the very end of our session. But thank you, folks, so much for coming through to hang out. It has been absolutely wonderful. I hope that you have learned a great many new things about the wonders of READMEs. If there are any further questions that you happen to have, you can ping me over on Discord. But otherwise, have a wonderful rest of Open Source Hackfest, and I will see you when I see you. Happy hacking, folks.